Right, we're finally here. The Singapore Grand Prix. 3 to go. After this, there's gonna be 2 to go. A 40-minute long video, and I think this is the longest video in the entire series, apart from Imola for like a full-length race, like including qualifying in the race, because Imola had sprint quality, so that's why it had to be 41 minutes long. But this, 43 minutes long, and it doesn't have sprint quality. Well, that's probably because Singapore is the longest race of the season, so it makes sense for this video to be 43 minutes long. I think the Azerbaijan/Canadian Grand Prix was 51 minutes long. That was just insane. But yeah, you're finally back, this time in Singapore, my home race, technically my home race. I live here, but I'm Filipino. So yeah, we're right now having a 1:45 in Q1. Q1 is wet, Q2 and 3 won't be wet. We make a bit of a mistake on the exit of the swooping left-hander, as we set a 53.4, which is very bad. We're a second off of our championship rival Lewis Hamilton, and right now I think we're going to be the last to get out of the pits. Actually, no, we won't. But yeah, it started to dry up. The track is already dry, so the goal is basically be the last person to set a flying lap, because you'll have the harder track, because you know everyone's rubber would have, you get what I mean. And so yeah, we're having a bit of a tussle here with Checo Perez for some reason, and I missed the braking point completely. So I had to basically spin turn, which is not good for the tires. But I'm never using these. Actually, no, I'm gonna use these in Q2. Do you like the helmet? The Michael Jackson Billie Jean jacket inspired helmet. Yeah, it's sleek. I think that's my best helmet so far, apart from the South Park one. The South Park one is pretty cool. Yeah, we're having a bit of a problem with Haas driver Mick Schumacher behind us. We're probably going to have to be able to pull away very easily, considering the difference of machinery. And again, this is Singapore. We're in a bit of a sandwich. Yeah, it's a bit complicated when everyone's going out on track at the same time. We're 8.9 up on our... Why am I doing this? Oh yeah, get a better view of the helmet. And now going through the exit of the tunnel, under the grandstand. I watched the Singapore Grand Prix from under the grandstand in its final year. That's one of my biggest flexes. The other two flexes are I've seen Alonso's Grand Slam in 2010 and Vettel's in 2013 as we finished P7 while I do a bit of yapping. I don't think I looked through the rest of this, so yeah, you can just see there I finished P7. Guan Yu Zhou in P12, interesting. As you can see here, now the rest of the session will be completely dry. This is our first run, scrub tires, track limits, but we lose time anyways. You know, for the sake of having an MJ helmet, let's sing some MJ songs. But she came and stood right by me, and was a smell of sweet perfume. This happened rather soon. She called me to her room. Hey, Billie Jean, not my lover. As right now, in the final Q3 run, we're having a pretty decent lap so far. We're 200s up already. I always like going out last. I don't know why more people in the grid do this. There's Ricciardo and Sainz. Or is that Norris? I'm guessing Norris got eliminated in Q1. So that's Ricciardo and Sainz. Or is it both McLarens? I'm not so sure. Who are actually in the pits for the final run. Surprisingly, I don't know why they wouldn't go out. Oh, we made contact with the wall there. Didn't want to use a flashback, a bit of understeer, hella understeer actually. So this lap is far from perfect. Actually, this whole series has been far from perfect. I started in September of 2022. 2 Christmases and then 2 New Years have gone by, and I'm about to end this in Feb. And here we go. It's a 1 and 2 in Q2. Doesn't really matter if it's a 1 and 2 in Q2. Just matters if you get into Q3. My bad. Charles Leclerc made it to Q2. So did Sebastian, but Sebastian Vettel got eliminated. I think Valtteri Bottas is here too. No, I don't think so. Alonso's in though. I like how I just don't go back and review it. I like how I just want to go with the flow with the commentary. I am pure commentary, unlike Arava. 2017 Arava was peak. Argue with a window, as we're in our first Q3 run, and I just do these because I feel like if you don't do a first run, your second run will be slower. So that's why I don't know where the logic is. I just figured that out in F1 2021. I'm not sure if that's the case in 22, but yeah, basically if I don't go for a Q1 run, the first run, and then my second run, what's supposed to be my second run, will be much slower. I just do that to save tires, as we are 400ths off of Lewis Hamilton. Not a good lap, obviously. And as I check here, we are 2/10 off pole, which is doable. It's achievable. Because again, you have to consider that I'm using scrub tires. And now is the final run. Time for the last dance. This is it. This is it. Here I stand. I'm the light of the world. I feel grand. This is it. This is the final run. If Singapore, we make a mistake there. Holy crap. We're okay. We're 100 up. I think Carlos will probably still improve, so 4/10 should be the goal. As we open up our DRS, going through turn 7, not going into 8th gear. We shouldn't go into 8th gear here, you know, build more revs. We're a 10th quicker than Verstappen. We set purple. Carlos Sainz crossing the line right now. He doesn't improve. You can tell by the minimap that Carlos crossed the line. So we're 2/10 up now. Interesting, he doesn't improve. So that means we just have to work with 2/10 of a second. I don't know how realistic that situation is. I don't know if your engineer would tell you if your teammate or the guy you're battling for pole has crossed the line or not, but whatever. There are 4/10s up on our time, which is more than enough to get on pole position. We lose a bit of time on the exit, that's okay. The swooping corner will save us, and we are on pole position at 1:36.5. Pole position in our home race. That's very good. Yeah, that was a good Q3. That was a good final run. I didn't know that I would out qualify him by that much. I thought I was only gonna barely scrape by Sergio Perez doing wonders in that. Daniel Ricciardo is in P3. This is wizardry, and I don't like it. Oh, I think he has a penalty though. Never mind. Charles Leclerc P10. Yeah. Pluh. I don't know what else to say. Michael Jackson helmet bulk. As we have an incident for crossing the white line. Anyway, time for the race.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula One returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging race. It's a 3.1 mile lap here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit, with 47% taken at full throttle. It's hot, humid and bumpy around the 13 lefts and 10 rights of mostly slow corners, but we should see speeds of up to 200 miles per hour along the Raffles Boulevard. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Maverick lines up on pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Lando Norris and Hamilton. They've taken a grid penalty. Bottas, Ricciardo, Vettel and Fernando Alonso. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Gasly, Tsunoda, George Russell and Leclerc. Joe, they've taken a grid penalty. Ocon, Lance Stroll and Mick Schumacher. Albon and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And with me today, of course, is Natalie Pinkham. Now, I want to ask you about Lewis Hamilton. They need 8th or better to ensure they stay in contention for the championship. Anything outside of that, and their fate is no longer in their hands.
The key now will be to keep the right mindset. We've seen time and again that things go wrong if they just try to do the minimum. Not necessarily because of the pressure, but because it's different to their usual approach. They'll need to avoid that and stay focused today.
So the one stopper is the way to go, the hard to the medium. You can see there that a few drivers are actually going for the medium tire, and I stalled for a bit. The thing is, I'm actually using a new wheel, the SF1000 wheel, and I use the actual clutch instead of just mapping hold up shift. So there's a few drivers actually starting on the medium tire. I think Ricciardo is also starting on the mediums. Bottas and a few others are starting on the soft. I think also Esteban Ocon is starting on the soft. Actually, no, I don't think Bottas is on the start. I think it's only Esteban Ocon. So there will be pretty interesting strategies after the first pit stop. After the first round of stops. So we're just gonna, get past these 4 drivers, Mabadka, line up on the grid. And yep, Ricciardo does have a grid penalty, so therefore he's not on the top 3, sadly. Lewis Hamilton also has a grid penalty, because if not for that, he'll be starting P4. So lined up on the grid now, in our grid spot, purple. I think I should have been pointing more towards Carlos Sainz. That probably would have been smarter. As we go now for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go in the Singapore Grand Prix. Another great start as Max Verstappen already gets me on the outside. And there's Checo going down the inside of Carlos Sainz. We have to cut the corner, if not, it would have been ugly with Max Verstappen. And I'm actually going to let them by. Like what Lewis did with George Russell in Singapore in real life in 2023. And Lewis Hamilton actually having a pretty decent start. He climbs all the way from P7 and is now in the P4. Actually, was he P6? I'm not so sure. Keep on forgetting. As he gets us around the outside. I did not try to go down the inside there. That would have been ugly. There's Lando Norris overtaking Max Verstappen. I mean, no, that's Daniel Ricciardo. Okay, interesting stuff. Ricciardo's gonna try on the outside. Yes, he does. It works. The move works, and going at the back, here's Lance Stroll overtaking Charles Leclerc, who has a grid penalty. Here's Alexander Albon fending off the 2 Hasses and Zhou Guanyu, who actually started in P15 and is way down in P20 now. How did that happen? I actually didn't take the replay cam for that. It's whatever. Fernando Alonso in P9. Great stuff from the Spaniard driver. Let's see. So Valtteri Bottas is on the medium. So it's only Esteban Ocon who's starting on the soft tires, which is why he was able to go from P16 all the way to P14. Now going back to focusing back on me, as yep, P4, not a great start, actually a terrible start. You started on pole position right here in the P4 now, so yeah, we can still come back. There's still plenty of time in the race. Singapore is the longest race in the calendar. Carlos Sainz crosses the line in P1. He hasn't led a lap since... No, he did lead in Monza, my bad. Here's Fernando Alonso getting a good look on Valtteri Bottas, the Finnish man, as he goes down the inside. No, it won't work. Valtteri Bottas gets the better exit of Fernando Alonso. He's bringing back that defense he had in Monza. Interesting stuff. Here's Sebastian Vettel behind Fernando Alonso. I think Sebastian Vettel actually benefited from a few grid penalties because he got eliminated in Q2. There's Alonso chasing Bottas, and nope, nothing. No DRS. And this order will remain the same until something later on the race happens. And let's take a look at a few onboards at the start. Here's Checo Perez, who goes for the inside, and I squeezed Carlos there, so that is probably my fault. No, never mind, that's Perez's fault. No, that's just a racing incident, because I couldn't see Perez getting a monster start, so I just let him by anyways. I think the real one at a disadvantage here is Max Verstappen, because you can see there he goes around the outside. Actually trying to make it 4 wide in Singapore is quite dumb, but he also couldn't see Checo in his mirrors, so that's also probably on Verstappen. So yeah, it's just a real racing incident here. There's nothing much you could do. And having a look up ahead there, yeah, I was kind of blocking Verstappen. And there's Daniel Ricciardo getting ahead, and there's Lewis Hamilton just getting a great launch out of turn 3. No, that's actually turn 5. And Ricciardo going around the outside of Max Verstappen, then down the inside into turn 8. But this could be irrelevant since both McLarens are actually on the medium compound tires. So yeah, they're probably the ones at the real disadvantage, that they have to pit earlier, and on their second stint they're going to be weaker. So now it's lap 6, and now going on to lap 7. And yeah, we're having a real chance at Hamilton. To be fair, I've been chasing him this whole time and I just couldn't get past because it's a really difficult circuit. It's not like Monaco, where Monaco is nearly impossible. Here it's still possible, but not when everyone is on the same compound, if you get what I mean, because usually in real life too, after the pit window is when the action starts. As we're gonna go round the outside of Lewis Hamilton, easy done. A bit of track limits, but we're on normal, doesn't matter. Pretend it's 2019 and that's legal. And we kinda drop it back to Daniel Ricciardo, but yeah, I don't think Ricciardo will be able to do anything unless, you know, I escape of DRS range from Lewis Hamilton. And yeah, okay, good stuff. As we now look at the onboard of Daniel Ricciardo in the beautiful pink OKX livery. Do you feel like F1 liveries are getting too modern? I don't know, let me know. As we are gonna skim over, you know, just later on the lap. Actually, it's the following lap for me, but later on the lap for Esteban Ocon, who's coming to the pits because he started on the soft compound tires. I don't know why they're doing the two-stop. I removed the mod for where you have to do a two-stop. But anyways, here's Esteban Ocon in the pits. He's gonna switch over to the medium, which means he's probably gonna stop again. And there is Lance Stroll, also going to the pits. He's on the soft tires. Why is he this low in the leaderboard? Yeah, whatever. He's Lance Stroll. As Esteban Ocon will exit way behind the field, but he'll get a pretty decent undercut. And he's also gonna have to pit again anyway, so what's the point? What's the point really, Esteban? Why did you opt for that two-stop? Well, like, I also don't get it, because you're in a midfield team. Why on earth would you use an experimental strategy? As we're gonna fast forward a bit, here's Alonso, who's closed up to... He's been behind Valtteri Bottas in this gap the whole time, but now, actually, they're both on the same tires, so there's no offset. Anyways, here's Alonso, DRS open. He's not gonna find an opening on Valtteri Bottas right now. And Bottas locks up, and Alonso gets past. Very anticlimactic type of ending to this. But anyways, it's alright. As Valtteri Bottas will have a chance to overtake Alonso on the straight. I wonder if he'll be able to do so. No, he won't. Because look how far he is. He's like 7/10 behind at the beginning of the straight. No, that's not enough. But there's Sebastian Vettel behind him, who is also not going to do anything. And now, a few laps later, it's time for Bottas to come into the pits. You know, Sebastian Vettel was stuck behind him the whole time. He lost a chunk of time to Fernando Alonso. And yeah, so Bottas on the medium tire is going to switch over to the hard tire. As we look up ahead a few laps later too, no, actually the next lap, Daniel Ricciardo coming to the pits for the hard tire as well. So why would you start on the medium? That doesn't make sense at all. If they're gonna start on the hards and then they're gonna offset your tires pretty much. There's Alonso coming to the pits for the hard tires as well. Why? And Sebastian Vettel with Pierre Gasly coming to the pits, and this Charles Leclerc in the background as well. This will be interesting to see who will come out on top. As Vettel is first into the box, Gasly switches over to the hard compound tire and exits ahead of Sebastian Vettel as he had to be held up by Charles Leclerc there. Really interesting stuff. So Vettel screwing over Leclerc's race in 2019, and now 2 years later, Leclerc screwing up Sebastian Vettel's race. Very interesting there. As we're gonna get a radio message from Sebastian Vettel right now.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. Honestly, lost a second for nothing. For sake.
Now, if you know where I got that audio from, you're a legend. But yeah, Vettel losing quite. Yeah, he actually lost a second there. He's now 8/10 behind Pierre Gasly. Going to the pits, he was 4/10 ahead. So yeah, he's probably really angry with Charles Leclerc. And yeah, wow, that's what you get, mate, for ruining his race in 2019. Well, Ferrari ruined it because they gave you the better strategy, even though Leclerc was the whatever. Here's Lando Norris coming into the box, trying to undercut Max Verstappen. So yeah, I think Ricciardo is guaranteed to come out ahead of Lando Norris. Yeah, because he pitted earlier. So here's Yuki Tsunoda, who's also gonna come in. Not George Russell though. Russell thought about it and backed out. Well, he's on the hard tire, so he doesn't need a pit yet. Yeah, Yuki Tsunoda, and here's Lando Norris exiting the pit lane. It's going to be really interesting to see who's going to exit ahead. And it looks like Ricciardo will, unless they're alongside on the exit of the pit lane. And Esteban Ocon, round the outside of Lando Norris. It's 3 wide going turn 3. It did not end up like Massa and Hulkenberg in 2015, and Ricciardo pretty much backed Norris into Esteban Ocon. Ocon gets ahead of Lando Norris, but they're side by side here on the straight, and anything can still happen. Here's Norris, he got past back Ocon. Ocon gets past Norris again into turn 7. Although Norris has the inside line, no, they're still side by side. Ocon has the better tires, he's on the medium, and then Norris is on the hard. As we go here on the exit of turn 8, now going into turn 9, Esteban Ocon is now fully ahead of the McLaren driver. Interesting stuff. Norris on the exit, I think he was about to be just behind Ricciardo, and now he's 2.1 seconds behind Daniel because of having a little tussle with Esteban Ocon. But yeah, I think Ocon is going to pit again anyways, so what's the point of battling Lando? As you can see, Fernando Alonso there in the distance. Lance Stroll is actually net position P10. Oh wait, he pitted the same lap as Esteban Ocon, didn't he? Wow. Anyways, now it's lap 17 for me, and I'm chasing down Checo Perez. This is actually the closest I've got to him the entire time I was chasing him. And yeah, I've just been super conservative on the ERS up until now, because I thought I can still be able to pass him, but it seems like the Red Bull powertrain unit is just way too strong for the Ferrari engine. As we go down the inside into turn 7, which is pretty much the only overtaking zone in this race. And yes, it works. We are now up into P2, and time to chase down our main rival for this race, not in the championship, but for this race, which is Carlos Sainz. So that was actually a pretty easier said than done overtake. And here's Lewis Hamilton, but it just took me a long while to get Checo, which is why I much prefer the new layout, where instead of going under the grandstand, it's just a straight, because yeah, with this, then it creates more spread, so the field is more spread apart, but with that, it's actually easier to carry in the speed going into the main straight. So yeah, and here's Lewis Hamilton, who's actually still in P4, who's maintained the gap to Verstappen pretty well. I think he's going faster than Checo right now, because yeah, Checo is already a second behind, and Lewis is only 5/10 behind, and we're actually going to pit this lap to undercut Carlos Sainz, because if I try to extend these tires, yeah, they're just not going to work. It just makes more sense to do the undercut than extend the tires, because we're already behind Carlos by 2.5. So let's just go for the undercut on the medium tires. 3 of us are going to the pits at the same time. Let's see how this will end. So here's me in the box, Lewis Hamilton in the box, and we get ahead. 2.3 second stop. I think Lewis probably had a longer pit stop, because he's 9/10 behind now. I think before he was only about 1.5. But yeah, on the pit exit now, Russell ahead. We're net position, probably P2 right now. And there's Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen exiting the pits. And will Esteban Ocon get ahead? No, Esteban Ocon is still behind. But Daniel Ricciardo has undercut Lewis Hamilton, and now he actually has a chance to overtake me, because he's in the DRS zone. He's only 310, so there's actually a chance if he's able to utilize the battery, but also obviously I'm also going to use my ERS. He's not going to look for the inside. Why? You had a clear look down the inside, you just had to outbrake me. But whatever, I think he knows that I'm just going to get him anyways, because I'm on fresher tires, but the mediums are still quite cold, so I'm losing a bit of time right now. You can see there, Lewis Hamilton actually fell back quite a bit. He's 2.1 seconds behind me now. Entering the pits, I think he's only about 1.5, so that's weird. That's actually quite strange. I think he probably would have got held up a bit by Max Verstappen. Ricciardo might get another chance in this DRS zone, but yeah, it's too short and he's too far behind. So nope, he's not going to get a chance. And there's Lewis Hamilton just chasing him down. He's only 1.7 behind right now. Max Verstappen's in DRS range of Lewis Hamilton, by the way, but that's not going to make do of anything, as we're going to skip ahead to Carlos Sainz to see if he's going to come out ahead or behind me. He also goes on the medium tires. I mean, yeah, you have to complete the mandatory pit stop, the mandatory compound switch. And Mick Schumacher is out of the Singapore Grand Prix. You can see there in turn 10. Why aren't they calling the safety car though? It doesn't make sense. As we're going on the main straight now, purple third sector. So this, yeah, we have a good chance of going ahead of Carlos. Yes, no. Yes, we do. We're alongside Carlos, but he's gonna push us wide, squeeze us out wide into turn 3. But we're really, really close going to the DRS zone. We should have a good look on him into turn 7. DRS wide open now, using our ERS. Why did I turn that off? This would have been so much easier if I kept it on. Actually, no, I'm way too far behind. So, yeah. Great. Brilliant. The undercut worked. At least we are bunched up together again. And look, Lewis Hamilton has caught up a bit, and Ricciardo is now going to be the one on the slower pace because of his hard tires, which are quite old. You can see Mick Schumacher there in the background. And now it's game on till the end of the race between me and Carlos Sainz. A battle of the two Ferrari drivers. But now we have to figure out when Lewis Hamilton will clear Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren, as it's just a massive DRS train in a street circuit even. This is nightmare. You know who's having the real nightmare? It's Checo Perez. He was in P2 for majority of the race. I overtook him. He was in P3 and he's now been undercut by Verstappen and Hamilton. And he's down in P6 now, but I think he's going to be able to get P5 at least, because Ricciardo is going to get overtaken by all of them because of the state of his tires. And we're losing a bit of ground to Carlos Sainz, but that's fine, because there's still 12 laps remaining in this race. There's still a long way to go. But now, here's Lewis Hamilton, DRS open, on the back of Daniel Ricciardo, finds an opening into turn 1, outbrakes him into the corner, gets ahead of Ricciardo, forcing him slightly wide, gets him into turn 3, gets fully ahead of Ricciardo into turn 3. Can Verstappen be able to overtake Ricciardo in this DRS train? Checo Perez 1.5 behind, which means he's not in DRS range, because you need to be a second. Okay, I think everyone watching this video has general knowledge of how DRS works. But Verstappen, no, not enough to get past Daniel Ricciardo. He's going to have to wait until Lewis Hamilton is ahead of Ricciardo by at least a second, because this is going to be a DRS train. And yeah, later on the lap, right now, Ricciardo is 1.5 behind Lewis Hamilton. So that gives Max the opening window to overtake Daniel. And you can see Checo has actually caught up quite a bit to Max. From around 1.5 the previous lap to now being only 6/10. And that's because Max is being held up by Ricciardo, who's going really slowly. The combination of being on older hards and in a McLaren compared to the Red Bull. And Max should be able to get the move done right here, right now on the main straight. No, never mind. You're just going to have to wait until next DRS zone in turn 7 so he can make a move on Daniel Ricciardo. So it's going to be... I think it's going to be pretty obvious who comes on top of this, unless Ricciardo has hella batteries stored up. So here we go, on the main straight, no, not the main straight, on the longest straight of the track right now. Verstappen on the back of Ricciardo, now alongside him, going around the outside. What can Ricciardo do to defend against Max? Nothing. Verstappen gets out of Ricciardo, and Perez attempts to move down the inside on turn 8. They're alongside on the exit of turn 8 as they're going to go into turn 9. Perez is going the long way around on the outside of Daniel Ricciardo, and it works. Checo Perez is now up into P5 after being P3 for majority of the race, but we don't talk about that. He's now way behind Max on DRS. Can Ricciardo get Checo on Despinade Drive? No, he can't. So here's Max Verstappen's onboard. You can see him going for a pretty good move on the outside. Ricciardo didn't leave that much room around the outside, and here's Perez just going for the move, but ultimately he was covered up by Verstappen, and he gets Ricciardo on the outside right here. Ricciardo made a bit of a mistake, and he's now in P6. As we jump into the onboard of George Russell, who had a grid penalty, he's going to go around the outside of Yuki Tsunoda into turn 1. Yes, it is done. As I said earlier in the video, that in Singapore, the overtakes only happen after the first pit window, and it is true, as all the overtakes are happening right now. George Russell now, Sebastian Vettel, who's pretty frustrated behind Pierre Gasly, because if it wasn't for Charles Leclerc holding him up, then he would be in the points positions right now, but he's about to be overtaken by George Russell. Russell's way too close behind, even though Seb has DRS. Seb can't do anything about it. Russell gets Seb down the inside. Going into turn 3, Russell again overtaking that move. Vettel, pretty good defense in turn 2. And George Russell is now ahead of Sebastian Vettel. But Seb has a pretty decent chance here on the Raffles Boulevard. DRS open on his Aston Martin, going round the outside of George Russell. George can't really put up a defense there, and Sebastian Vettel now up in the P11. So yeah, George's gonna have to wait another lap to overtake Seb, and you can see here he's really close behind, following Seb as he goes down the inside into turn 1. No, again, like the next lap, they're alongside in turn 2. Does Russell get fully ahead in turn 3? No, they're still side by side. I think he's going to be waiting until the DRS detection to overtake Sebastian Vettel. Yeah, he's going to be behind for the Raffles Boulevard. DRS wide open on his Mercedes versus the Aston Martin, who are both using the same power unit, as George Russell goes the long way round into turn 7. Yes, he gets ahead of Sebastian Vettel, solidifying the move into turn 8. Yes, he gets it done. And George will now have sights on Pierre Gasly, who's 3 seconds up ahead, what it should be doable in his Mercedes. As we can see, literally the following lap now, he is only 3/10 behind, so he gained 2.7 the span of a lap. DRS open for the British driver on the Frenchman, which should be pretty easy, as Russell going down the inside of turn 1. They're still alongside. Can he get it done by turn 3? No, they're still side by side going to the DRS zone. So Russell's actually behind on the detection point. Who will have DRS though? Actually, none of them have DRS, but Russell gets ahead of Pierre Gasly, getting into the points. And he has to chase down the man who replaced at Mercedes, which is Valtteri Bottas. He was 3 seconds ahead of him. As we're going to skip ahead to up the field, me versus Carlos Sainz on lap 27. And if you can see on my multifunction display that I have actually lost 4th gear, which is not good because I'm trying to chase down my teammate. Wow, going at the perfect timing there. So I'm having to change my driving style from more short shifting to using the longer gears, because we lost 3rd gear. We have DRS open now. No overtake mode, you have very little ERS to play with. Yeah, I can see here. Yep, lost 4th gear. Not ideal, especially for cornering. And also not ideal for gaining speed, because there's going to be lower revs. So this is just not a good time for us right now after that horrendous start. DRS open in the Raffles Boulevard behind Carlos Sainz. Still not enough, way too far behind. If you want to have a chance going to turn 7, whoa, that was very close. But if you want to have a chance going to turn 7, you should be at least 2.2 tenths behind the car ahead, and a lot of battery. But like to guarantee it, maybe 1.5 tenths behind at the detection point. And at this point when I was driving, yeah, I was getting a bit frustrated, but you know, the race isn't over. There's still a chance. And the magic number, you know, my number on my car, number 29, lap 29, 3/10 behind Carlos Sainz. We are really close, just following behind. What can we do here? I think we're in the perfect zone to be able to get past him on Raffles Boulevard, because we're finally less than 2/10, okay, actually 3/10 here, using our battery. We are really close. We're gonna go for a massive dive bomb down the inside. We run wide, but Carlos actually locks up. So that would have been dirty if Carlos didn't lock up, but he locked up. So, and I also don't get why he didn't cover the inside line. I mean, I was literally nearly alongside him in his Ferrari. So, and me, we're both teammates. Why did I say in his Ferrari? Well, yeah, whatever. So yeah, going through turn 11 now, finally getting past Carlos Sainz and getting back the lead about 28 laps later. This race has been super frustrating, but it's being rewarded now. And also finally getting back 4th gear. That's just what I needed to end off this perfect night. And you know what's funny? This happened in Silverstone as well, when I was chasing down, let's say, P2. So Silverstone was chasing down Carlos in P2. Each time I got past Carlos, I got much slower, even though I was faster than him the whole time. I was just trundling behind him, because now you can see here, he's really close. Why? It doesn't make sense. I was faster than him the whole time, but now he's faster than me. So I guess as long as you're P1, you're going to be the slower car. As now going onto the main straight, we're going to use a dual camera angle here. We're going to sort of push Carlos wide here, just to push him a little back, try and make him more than a second behind. It's not going to work though. Our exit was really poor. And Lewis Hamilton has now caught up to the both of us. The top three is only separated by a second. Carlos Sainz, DRS open now on the Raffles Boulevard. Can he get us into turn 7? He's really close. We didn't cover the inside line too much, but we're going to cover his line going into turn 7. Lewis Hamilton though, wow, too close for comfort even. Carlos attempts to move into turn 8, just not enough room. And also he was on the bad racing line. You can't really attack over there unless you're really alongside going to turn 8. Verstappen is slowly showing up on the horizon as well. So really, anyone in the top 4 or even the top 5 right here can win, because theoretically, if any of us in the front have a massive crash, then the person behind is going to benefit from that. So yeah, we're about to go onto the final lap of the Singapore Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz pressuring me in sector 3 here through the tunnel section. I take a very wide line. Carlos has a better entrance. I have the better exit. Going under the grandstand for the penultimate time this race. Yeah, Verstappen is not so far behind now. He's gaining a bit of time on Lewis Hamilton. So this is going to be a really close finish as I go through turns 22 and 23 for the penultimate time. Carlos has 2 more attempts right here. He goes round the outside of turn 1. We are going to do a massive defense, running a bit wide, pushing Carlos wide. Lewis Hamilton goes down the inside of Carlos Sainz into turn 3, getting ahead of Carlos. Max Verstappen's only 9/10 behind now. Lewis Hamilton goes round the outside of the Spaniard in his Mercedes, which is not good at all for the championship. And look who's turning up here. Max Verstappen, who was 2.2 seconds behind on the previous lap, is now in P3. Whoa, I really screwed up my teammate right there. I am the opposite of a team player. That's the word I was looking for. I was thinking of sportsmanship. Lewis Hamilton now chasing down his championship rival. You can see he had a different racing line there. He was looking for a move on the inside. Really close now. We're going to take the inside line in case he attempts a dive bomb. He's going to go round the outside. We push him slightly wide. Verstappen looking through the inside line doesn't really work. Lewis Hamilton gets the better exit. And now for the rest of the sector, sector 3, I just have to hold off these 4 guys. The top 4 is separated by a second. This is actually insanity. Wow. Having a very disappointing start earlier in this race, we are finally gonna come through and win the Singapore Grand Prix. Unless I spin in turns 22 and 23. That would be a massive pressure moment if this was real life. But going through turn 22 and 23 now, we cross the line and win my technically home race. Yes, come on! Especially with this Michael Jackson helmet.
It's never easy to make it across the finish line here in Singapore, but they've done so with some style here today to take a remarkable victory. So Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions, and perfecting the team strategies. They got all those things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
Here come our winners now, a thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
Wow, well, that race was eventful,
So then, Natalie
wasn't
Baker,
it?
who would you rank as
Fastest
the
lap by a
driver of the day?
country mile, actually no, only by 2/10.
But I'd like to say Esteban
Oh yeah,
Ocon,
damn.
he's just so
Well, the Michael
gifted at
Jackson
getting
helmet
most
really
of
helped,
his
just like the
time
South Park
shown.
Butters helmet.
It's time to check out, but
I
you've
just
got to
realized
say,
that
Ferrari
3 out of my 4
continues to
wins
extend
this
the gap
season
with
were
the
using
top
special
race.
helmets.
And with that, we
Maybe
wrap
I'm a
up
special
another
helmet
race
merchant,
for
who
action.
knows?
But with more
But this
races
is how
lined
the
up,
standings currently look like.
come back.
Yes, finally showing my Filipino flag. Yeah, so basically, if we outscore Lewis by I think 13 points, because he has more wins than me, in the next race, we'll actually win the championship. Carlos Sainz P4. Okay, I think he would have been P3 if he finished at a max. Yeah, it's more or less the same, but Lewis Hamilton losing ground in Monza and Singapore, but he can probably make it back in America. Because historically, America is probably Lewis Hamilton's best track apart from Suzuka. So, yeah, interesting how the final 2 races will pan out. And in that case, I shall sign off and see you in the next video, which is the American Grand Prix.